The Texas sun hung low over the sprawling suburbs of Austin, casting a golden haze across the rolling acres of the Barren Oak Ranch. Loretta May Caldwell, 68 years young, stood on the wraparound porch of the homestead her late husband, Buck, had built with his own calloused hands. Her silver hair was pulled back in a loose braid, and her denim shirt was rolled up at the sleeves, revealing arms still strong from decades of ranch work. She sipped her sweet tea, the ice clinking softly, and stared at the horizon where the city's encroaching skyline loomed like an unwelcomed guest. Inside, her son, Travis, and his wife, Celeste, sat at the oak dining table, their voices sharp and polished like the marble countertops of their downtown penthouse. Travis, an oil executive with a penchant for tailored suits, had his father's jawline but none of his grit. Celeste, a socialite with a smile as bright as her diamond tennis bracelet, flipped through a glossy architect's portfolio, pointing at blueprints for a McMansion that would swallow the ranch whole. "Mama, it's simple," Travis said, leaning back in his chair. "We need the space. Celeste is pregnant, and we're building our dream home here. You can stay on as nanny, live in, of course, help with the baby. Or," he trailed off, letting the unspoken threat hang in the air. "Or I'm out," Loretta Frent finished, her voice steady but laced with steel. She set her glass down, the click echoing in the tense silence. Celeste looked up, her perfectly manicured nails pausing mid-page. "It's not like that, Loretta," Celeste said, her tones syrupy. "We just want what's best for the family." Loretta's hazel eyes narrowed. Family? The word stung like a mesquite thorn. This ranch wasn't just land, it was her life with Buck. 40 years of sweat, love, and memories etched into every fence post and barn beam. She'd raised Travis here, taught him how to ride, to rope, to respect the land. Now, he wanted to pave it over for a monstrosity with a 3-car garage and a wine cellar. And her? Reduced to a nanny in her own home. "I'll think on it," Loretta said, her boots clicking on the hardwood as she turned and walked out. She didn't need to think. She knew exactly what she'd do. The next morning, Loretta sat in the office of her old friend, Hank Grayson, a wiry lawyer with a penchant for bolo ties and pro bono work. The air smelled of leather and old books, and Hank's desk was cluttered with photos of his grandkids and a half-eaten kolache. "You sure about this, Loretta?" Hank asked, peering over his bifocals as he slid the document across the desk. Loretta nodded, her jaw set. "Sure as the sun rises. The ranch goes to the Lone Star Youth Equestrian Program. Travis gets nothing but the dirt under his boots if he tries to fight it." Hank chuckled, shaking his head. "You're a firecracker, Loretta May. Always were. Buck'd be proud." She signed the will with a flourish, her signature as bold as the Texas sky. The equestrian program had been her passion since Buck's passing, a way to keep kids connected to the land, teaching them to ride and care for horses, just as she had done with Travis before he traded spurs for spreadsheets. The ranch would live on, not as a monument to her son's ego, but as a legacy for kids who needed it. That afternoon, Loretta packed her essentials. A few flannel shirts, her favorite cowboy boots, a worn photo of her and Buck on their wedding day, and her old guitar. She left a note for Travis on the kitchen counter. "The ranch is spoken for. I'm moving on. Good luck with your McMansion." She didn't wait for their response. With a final glance at the homestead, she climbed into her dusty red pickup and headed west to hill country. The Rollin' Hills Retirement Ranch wasn't your typical old folks' home. Nestled in the heart of Texas hill country, it was a sprawling spread of cedar cabins, wildflower meadows, and a barn that housed a dozen horses. The residents weren't content to knit and play bingo. They lined danced under the stars, rode trails at dawn, and swapped stories over bourbon by the fire pit. Loretta felt an instant kinship with the place, like slipping into a pair of well-worn boots. Her first night, she joined a group of residents at the main lodge for a welcome barbecue. The air was thick with the scent of mesquite-smoked brisket and the twang of a fiddle. A woman with a shock of white hair and a turquoise bolo tie sidled up to Loretta, a mason jar of moonshine in hand. "Name's Ruby," she said, her voice gravelly but warm. "Heard you gave your son the boot and willed your ranch to some kids. That's some Lone Star spirit right there." Loretta grinned, accepting the jar. "Loretta May, and yeah, I reckon I'm done letting folks tell me how to live." Ruby cackled, clinking her jar against Loretta's. "You'll fit right in, darling. We're a bunch of rebel grandmas round here." Over the next few weeks, Loretta settled into the rhythm of rolling hills. Mornings were spent riding trails with Ruby and a former barrel racer named Dot, whose laugh could spook a coyote. Afternoons, she strummed her guitar on the lodge porch, teaching old country tunes to anyone who'd listen. Evenings were for line dancing, where Loretta's quick steps and infectious grin made her the belle of the barn. But it wasn't all two-stepping and trail rides. Loretta noticed things, small injustices that gnawed at her. The local senior center had cut funding for transportation, leaving folks stranded. The county was pushing to rezone parts of hill country for luxury condos, threatening the open land the retirement ranch relied on. And too many residents at Rolling Hills whispered about families who dismissed their dreams, assuming age meant irrelevance. One night over a bonfire, Loretta shared her story with Ruby, Dot, and a quiet widow named June, who'd once been a union organizer in Houston. The fire crackled as Loretta recounted Travis's ultimatum and her decision to will the ranch away. "That's it," Ruby said, slamming her hand on her knee. "We're starting a revolution. The rebel grandmas of hill country. We'll show 'em old ain't obsolete." June's eyes lit up, her organizer's instincts kicking in. "We could advocate for elder rights, transportation, land preservation, respect. Start small, build a coalition." Dot nodded, her Stetson tipped back. "And we'll do it with style. Boots, hats, and a whole lot of attitude." Loretta strummed a chord on her guitar, a plan forming. "Let's make some noise, ladies." The rebel grandmas hit the ground running. They organized a petition to restore funding for the senior center's bus service, collecting signatures at the local farmers market while Loretta played Johnny Cash covers to draw a crowd. They crashed a county zoning meeting, Ruby's bolo tie glinting as she lectured the board about preserving hill country's heritage. Dot, with her barrel racing flair, led a horseback protest ride through town, banners flying with slogans like "Age ain't a cage" and "Respect your elders." Loretta found her voice in the fight. She wrote letters to the local paper, her words sharp and heartfelt, calling out developers and dismissive families alike. She started a weekly music night at Rolling Hills where the rebel grandmas performed as a band. Loretta on guitar, Ruby on harmonica, Dot on tambourine, and June keeping rhythm with a washboard. They called themselves the Silver Spurs, and their songs, a mix of originals and classic country, became anthems for their cause. Word spread. The Austin Chronicle ran a feature on the rebel grandmas with complete a photo of Loretta mid-strum, her cowboy hat tilted defiantly. Local seniors joined their ranks, and even some younger folks. Kids from the equestrian program, now thriving on Loretta's old ranch, showed up to cheer them on. The movement wasn't just about rights. It was about proving that life didn't dim with age, that the fire in your soul could burn brighter than ever. Back in Austin, Travis and Celeste's McMansion dreams hit a snag. The will was ironclad, and the equestrian program had already taken over the ranch, transforming it into a bustling hub of kids, horses, and hope. Travis tried to fight it, hiring a slick lawyer from Houston, but Hank Grayson outmaneuvered him with small-town savvy and a few well-placed calls to the press. The story of Loretta Stand went viral on X, with posts praising her as a Texas legend. One crisp fall evening, as Loretta led a trail ride under a starlit sky, a familiar pickup pulled into Rolling Hills. Travis stepped out, his suit replaced by jeans and a flannel shirt,
his face lined with something softer than arrogance. He held an envelope, his hands unsteady. "Mama," he said, his voice low, "can we talk?" They sat on the lodge porch, the air cool and scented with cedar. Travis handed her the envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten, the words raw and unguarded. "Dear Mama, I was wrong. I thought I knew what was best, but I didn't listen. The ranch was your heart, and I tried to take it. I'm sorry. Celeste and I are starting over, building our home elsewhere. The equestrian program's doing good work. I saw the kids riding there yesterday. Made me think of you teaching me. I hope you'll forgive me. I'm proud of you, Mama. You're the toughest Texan I know. Love, Travis." Loretta folded the letter, her throat tight. She looked at her son, seeing the boy who'd once chased fireflies across the ranch. "Takes guts to own up, Travis," she said. "You're welcome here any time. But I'm staying put." He nodded, a small smile breaking through. "Wouldn't expect less."
That night, the Silver Spurs played their biggest show yet, a fundraiser for the Senior Center's bus fund. The barn was packed, string lights twinkling overhead as Loretta's voice soared through a new song she'd written, Lone Star Liberation. The crowd, old and young, ranchers and city folk, sang along, their boots stomping in time. As the final chord rang out, Loretta looked out at the sea of faces, her rebel grandmas by her side. Ruby whooped, Dot spun her tambourine, and June raised a triumphant fist. The Texas sky stretched wide above, stars blazing like a promise. In the Lone Star State, Loretta had found her freedom, not in the land she'd left behind, but in the life she'd built, surrounded by rebels who proved that independence shines brighter than any oil well.